Here we have algebra 2 problem. There is an equation given over here. That is x to the fourth power negative 2 x square negative 3 equals to 0. If negative square root of 3 and positive square root of 3 are the two roots of the equation above, find the other roots. Actually, this is the equation of degree 4. Since the degree of this equation, I mean the largest exponent of the variable x in the equation is 4. So it has 4 roots, and the two of the roots are given in the equation, negative square root of 3 and positive square root of 3. So we have to find the remaining two roots. Okay, to get the remaining two roots, what I have to do is I have to factor the polynomial we have on the left side of the equation over here. So how do you have to factor this polynomial x to the fourth power negative 2 x square negative 3? So for that, what I have to do is I have to get a quadratic equation which has two roots, negative square root of 3 and positive square root of 3. Because usually a quadratic equation will have two roots. So I just use this negative square root of 3 and positive square root of 3 as roots. I'm going to get a quadratic equation. Okay, now there is a formula to get a quadratic equation if I have two roots. Let me write the formula. Here I have written the formula to get a quadratic equation when we have two roots. Okay, so some of the roots means I have to add these two roots, negative square root of 3 and positive square root of 3. Okay, let me continue over here. So x square negative square root of 3, positive square root of 3 times x positive. So product of the roots means I have to multiply the two roots, negative square root of 3. Actually, it's a positive square root of 3. We can write positive square root of 3 equals to 0. Okay, so when I combine negative square root of 3 and positive square root of 3, it will become 0. So 0 times x, this part will become 0. So now positive, we can write this positive sign. So when I multiply these two roots, these two numbers, negative square root of 3 and positive square root of 3. So first I have to multiply the signs. Negative times positive will become negative, and square root of 3 times square root of 3 will become just 3 equals to 0. Then x square positive times negative will become negative 3 equals to 0. Okay, I got the quadratic equation which has two roots, negative square root of 3 and positive square root of 3. Already we know that these two numbers are the roots of the given equation. Since this negative square root of 3 and positive square root of 3 are the roots of the given equation, so the expression on the left side we have over here in the quadratic equation must be one of the factors of this polynomial. Okay, now I got one of the factors of the polynomial on the left side of the given equation. So how do you have to get the other factor? So for that, what I have to do is I have to divide this polynomial by the expression we have in the quadratic equation over here. So using a long division. So okay, now let me draw a long division over here. Okay, I'm going to consider this polynomial as a dividend, that is x to the fourth power negative 2x square negative 3. I'm going to use this expression as a divisor, that is x square negative 3. So in long division, always we have to divide the first term of the dividend by the first term of the divisor. When I divide this x to the fourth power by this x square, I'm just getting x square. Let me write that x square over here. Now I have to multiply this expression by the x square that I have to now here. So when I multiply the first term of the divisor x square by this x square, I'm getting x to the fourth power. And the second term of the divisor negative 3 by this x square, I'm getting negative 3x square. Okay, now what I have to do is I have to subtract the expression over here from the expression at the top. Since I'm doing subtraction, I have to multiply the expression over here by negative sign. So when actually it is a positive x to the fourth power. When I multiply this one by negative sign, it will become negative x to the fourth power. And it's negative 3x square. When I multiply this one by negative sign, it will become positive 3x square. Actually, I multiply the expression at the bottom by negative sign because we do subtraction. Okay, positive x to the fourth power, negative x to the fourth power will cancel out. When I combine negative 2x square and positive 3x square, I'm getting just positive 1x square. And we can bring this negative 3 down. So we get x square negative 3. In my next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the first term of the expression over here, that is x square, by the first term of the divisor, that is x square. So when I divide x square by x square, I'm getting 1. So and also here in this step, the exponent of the variable x in numerator, the exponent of the variable x in denominator is same. So we should not continue this process anymore. So anyways, when I divide this x square by this x square, I'm just getting a positive 1. That positive 1 should be written over here. So now what I have to do is I have to multiply this divisor by this positive 1. That is, when I multiply this x square by this positive 1, I'm just getting x square. When I multiply this negative 3 by this positive 1, I'm just getting negative 3. Now I have to subtract the expression at the bottom from the expression at the top. Since I'm doing subtraction, I have to multiply the expression at the bottom by negative sign as I did over here. So when already it's positive x square, when I multiply this one by negative sign, it will become negative x square. It's negative 3. When I multiply this one by negative sign, it will become positive. Okay, so positive x square, negative x square will cancel, and negative 3, positive 3 will cancel out, and we get 0. So the remainder is 0. So definitely the remainder will be 0 because already we know that so this x square negative 3 is one of the factors of this polynomial. So since this x square negative 3 is one of the factors of this polynomial x to the fourth power negative 2 x square negative 3. So when I divide this polynomial by this x square negative 3, I'm getting 0. Okay, now so the quotient we have over here in the long division, that is x square positive 1, is the other factor of this polynomial x to the fourth power negative 2x square negative 3. Okay, now what I'm going to do is let me write the given equation as it is. It is x to the fourth power negative 2x square negative 3 equals to 0. Okay, for this polynomial we got two factors. So the first factor is x square negative 3 and the second factor is x square positive 1. So the first factor we got it over here and the second factor we got it over here. Okay, now the product of two factors equals to 0. Whenever the product of two quantities equals to 0, either the first quantity equals to 0 or the second quantity equals to 0 or both the quantities may be 0. So the first quantity may be 0 or the second quantity may be 0, x square positive 1 equals to 0. Okay, so when I solve this equation, I'll be getting these two roots, negative square root of 3 and positive square root of 3, because I got this equation, x square negative 3 equals to 0, using these two roots, negative square root of 3 and positive square root of 3. So we don't have to solve this one. So solving this equation, we'll get the other roots of the given equation. Actually, it is a quadratic equation because it has degree 2. So when I solve this equation, I'll be getting two roots, the remaining two roots of the given equation. Okay, for that I subtract 1 from both sides. When I do so, positive and negative 1 will cancel. I'm getting x square equals to negative 1. Okay, now to get the square over here, what I'm going to do is I just take square root on both sides. So whenever I take square root on both sides of an equation, for one of the square roots, I have to consider positive or negative sign. So usually we consider positive or negative sign for the square root which contains number inside. So this square root contains number negative 1 inside. So we can take positive or negative sign for this square root. On the left side, the square root and square will cancel out. Now I'm getting x equals to positive or negative. And for this negative 1, we can write I square. So because whenever we have a negative number inside the square root, it's imaginary. And when we have a negative number inside the square root, for negative 1, usually we take I square. Then we get x equals to positive or negative on the square root and square root cancelled, we get I. Okay, so the remaining two roots are x equals to I and x equals to negative I.